So brief discussion here. Well, one more story before we do brief discussion. One more story that hits maybe a little bit more closer to home. A lot of you know John Wiley. John Wiley was here at our church for a number of years while he worked at Clemson University. Then he had a stint over in China with ELIC, and now he's working at Covenant College. He's the dean of something or other, working with disciplinary issues. But last fall, John came up to me because he had a question about this issue of pornography, because he's in charge of shepherding a dorm. So there's 38 guys on that dorm. They had an event, and at this event, one of these young men confessed to struggling with porn. That guy's confession sparked a domino effect. They went around, 38 out of 38 at Covenant College struggling with pornography. One dorm floor, 100%. 37 of 38 started before they were 11. That's one dorm floor. So John says, okay, what do we do? You know, I've got 100% on one floor. Now, the next shocking piece of information was Covenant College has a counseling wing. A student can go to get help for any problem they have, free of cost, and get help and counseling. The counseling wing was not aware of one student on campus who was struggling with pornography. What does that show you? It shows you that the hiddenness of this sin, the shame to confess, was greater than their willingness to want help. But the other thing that it shows me, and this one is the one that's the hardest, when I heard that number, 38 out of 38, I've been giving these talks for years, I still was shocked. The reason I was shocked is I kept saying to myself, 38 out of 38, not one of them had an older man come alongside them and disciple them to freedom in the issue of pornography. And that to me was the most shocking. But I said to John, John, the guys are not your problem. They will confess, and they did, 38 out of 38. When someone brought it up, they confessed. The girls are your bigger problem. Because we don't have an accurate statistic for our women. It's probably 20 to 40%. The reason we don't have an accurate stat is they have so much guilt and shame to come into the light with their struggles with sexuality. They have heard from the pulpit their entire lives this is a men's problem and that they shouldn't struggle. Here at this church, when I've heard it addressed, it's almost always been in the context of, and this is something that guys struggle with. And so what do we do to our women when they hear that? We amplify the shame, we amplify the guilt, and Satan has them right where he wants them. So I told John, I think the girls are really going to be your harder problem. So then John says to me, we'd love to have you come and speak at chapel. So I thought, okay, that'd be fine. But then he said, but chapel's pretty booked for the next year and a half or 2 years. So we got to wait on that. And so I said to him, John, I don't think chapel's working. These guys are hearing 3 sermons a week, and they're all struggling with porn. Is chapel working? Is them getting sermon after sermon fixing the problem? It's not. And so we really have to think about the ways that we're doing things. We will keep getting what we're getting if we keep doing what we're doing. Current statistic today is that 7% of churches have anything to address the issue of pornography. I believe a lot of the times we've made an assumption, same assumption that my parents made. I have a good kid, he would never do that. And I was the good kid. I was not going to drink at a party in high school. I was not going to do drugs, but I was struggling with porn. Porn attacked me at a time when I was not ready, and it was so available. And so we make the assumption my kid would never do that. Now, statistically, when you ask pastors about pornography, in general, they'll say, yes, it's a huge problem. Then you ask them about their church, they have the same reaction. It's harder for them to identify the faces that they look at every day with actually having that problem. So they, even in churches, we think, well, not in my church. We gotta throw that out. We gotta get rid of that. And I actually, as I came back from a conference last April, so about a year ago, came back from this conference, got loaded up with all these statistics, got this study, the porn phenomenon that Barna had just put out last year. And I'm looking at these stats and I'm like, okay, this has got to be overblown. There's no way there's that many people struggling with this in our church. These are elders, these are deacons, these are Sunday school teachers, these are people that are attending all the time. And you're looking at the stats. Pure Desire saying 70% of the men sitting in the pew on Sunday have looked at porn the week before. That's a big stat, it's a big number. Then I started leading groups here in our church. What did I find? Yeah, the numbers are right. You see, it might not be that we've got somebody who has a 4-hour-a-day addiction, but I'm meeting businessmen that when they go on business trips, the temptation is just so overwhelming. Or once or twice a year, wife's out of the home and they're struggling with that. So let's not have this attitude of not in my church. I think I struggled with it too when I was coming home from this conference. I'm just thinking it can't really be. But what we found is that this issue has not really been addressed, and so the challenges are that great.